guys, can you imagine? First of all, imagine if Deshaun Watson trade happens, which like I feel like since last week when we kind of talked about it, like the the I guess the feeling is only intensified that that's probably going to happen. Like report after report that Deshaun's not going to play for Houston anymore.
Yeah.
And then, man, when I think of like we got a new general manager in Denver, we got to shake things up. Half a decade of mediocrity. Like, man, make a splash. Go get Deshaun Watson. Oh, my dreams would come true. I hardly don't care what it would cost.
Yeah.
I would give I'd give 3 first round picks for him for sure, easily,
Yeah,
and
I would.
someone good.
Well, to me, like just hearing you say that just further makes an indictment on Drew Lock. Because I'm thinking, okay, Deshaun Watson with Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay. How are they not winning more games? And then that
Yeah.
defense is still great. Defense is what helps them stay whatever they finished at. Not bottom of the league, top pick. So,
Yeah.
and Von
Yeah.
Miller's coming back. And just think about that. It's like that just makes the AFC West just even more full of contenders and more interesting. With the Deshaun Watson comes in and shakes things up. The
Dude,
Broncos are suddenly,
we're
contenders.
we're contenders if we have Deshaun Watson. Now, that's true of
Absolutely.
almost any team. There's not that many teams that could say they wouldn't at least be in the mix. But yeah, I'm thinking of the same things as you. Like with all the weapons we have in Denver,
Yeah.
like our weapons are kind of not, we're not put on the pedestal in the league just because they aren't really being used. Because Drew Lock had a mediocre season. We've been mediocre for years, but man, it would be like I would think go if that actually happened. Not saying it will. Again, I have to tell myself once an hour,
I
it's not
highly
going to
doubt it.
happen. It's not going to happen. Stop being excited. It's like when you're a kid and it's like Christmas. It's like coming up to Christmas and you ask for like something huge from your parents. That's like your dream. And in your heart of hearts it's not going to happen, but you still like imagine you might get it. You're like, dude, I might get it.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I honestly think Deshaun Watson is one of those guys that could go to a team. Just his presence and his skill and his abilities could 100% improve the team in every way.
yeah, absolutely. And I guess the one thing, if I am going to give us hope, let's say Deshaun actually gets traded, I do think Denver should be viewed as an actual pretty good destination right now. Number one, it's obviously it's an established good franchise that we've been
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
the downward for 5 years, but the Broncos are, we're not the Jaguars or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then yeah, all those weapons. I think the other teams that are, contenders. I don't know if any of them have the weapons. Obviously, like the Jets' name is thrown out there because they have draft picks. Like Deshaun, he's going to have a big say in this thing because there's a no trade clause in his contract. So he
Exactly.
has to basically approve anything that happens. So if I'm Deshaun, I'm not dying to go to the Jets, even though like Adam Gase has left. Like offensively, I don't know what are there any. I can't think I can name a single offensive player on the New York Jets right now, and maybe they traded
The
away
ones that I
Lev
knew
Bell.
are gone now. I
Yeah,
don't remember who their even number one wideout is. I'd have to look it
I
up.
can't. I don't know why I can't. But I mean, we got Miami as another name, which they're good. They're really good, but offensively, again, I don't think they have the weapons necessarily. They have a great defense and they have a good team that's on the up and up, but
Yeah.
I don't know. If it happens, I'll be excited. Again, I won't get my hopes up, but I think if I were the Broncos and there was a chance to get Deshaun Watson, there's almost no price I wouldn't consider. Like that's a franchise future changing move.
Absolutely. I think that's one thing too. For Deshaun to be wanting to make a move like this, it needs to at least be a smart move. And if one of the reasons he is leaving is because he's bitter and upset that they traded away his best weapon and they haven't handled his weapons very well since he's been there, it would be dumb for him to go to another team that also doesn't have weapons. Where you have Jerry Jeudy, that it was his rookie year, right? He's a rookie.
Yeah. First year, and he was really, I mean, before he played his first snap in the NFL, me and lots of other people are like, this kid's special.
Yeah.
And he only proved that throughout the year. He looked great.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. You don't consider him a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, probably. But for
Not
your
yet.
rookie year and how impressive he was with the quarterback he was playing with, he had a stellar season. And that's a weapon where if you're Deshaun Watson, you go, yeah, I want to play with people like that will make something of themselves in the coming years and not just
Jerry and Cortland's son was out the whole year, but before that, he was playing great with the likes of Drew Lock and Joe Flacco and all these other quarterbacks, and he's had great season every year. So
here's one interesting stat I found about Deshaun Watson today too. I pulled it up because I don't want to get it wrong, but right now he is the NFL's all-time leader in completion percentage. This season, he had 8.9 yards per attempt.
Jeez.
His career is 8.3. And of course, he has a short career, but same thing. When you're considering the offensive line that was protecting him, the one good weapon he had, the struggles he's had, the injuries he's had, Drew Brees is second. Okay.
Per attempt or
second all time. So technically, Deshaun Watson is all-time leader, even though it's based on a shorter career.
Right.
Drew Brees is second, and it's 7.6. So there's a large gap.
Huge, man. I bet Drew Lock had less yards per completion than he has per attempt.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is Deshaun Watson, and I think people say this all the time, but the numbers and the wins to losses and stuff just do not represent how good he is. And if he goes somewhere like the Broncos, possibly Miami, or any other team that has kind of their crap together, those numbers will, those stats will grow, and I think we'll really see how capable he is as a quarterback.
Yeah. One of the last things I want to say on the Deshaun Watson thing is just kind of how weird the situation really is. Like, how many times have you seen a player demand a trade and it has nothing to do with money at all? And it's not even really, I mean, yeah, they're losing, but it's really, he's pissed because they're not including him in decision making, who they're hiring. I don't know if I can think of a time that that's been the linchpin of someone saying, I want out because I don't get a say in who you hire as general manager or who you trade away. It's just a unique situation is all I've kind of thought on. It's because he just got paid. He's got tons of money. That's not a problem.
Well, I think it's that way because he's a quarterback. And I think what also makes it unique is that doesn't happen with quarterbacks that often. Quarterbacks usually don't demand trades and they usually don't hold out. And so that in itself is a unique situation. And as a quarterback, you're more likely to be entitled to those privileges of being involved in that kind of thing. Whereas if you're a wide receiver, which I think is a more common position for this to happen, and other skill positions, they're not in that position to bargain with the owner to do that. So I think that also makes it a little bit more unique in that way, because quarterbacks usually they're I'll stay as long as you put a team around me, and usually they don't leave unless they become a free agent or something, or they have a no franchise tag clause or something. So the whole thing is different, but it's exciting. I think this could change the way the NFL operates with this happening. It'll empower more players to leave, and it'll be seen as more, I don't know what the word is.
I think are you more of a player-driven league, like the NBA almost, kind of where players have more power. And I mean, yeah, that's what I have the same exact takeaway from it. It's just like, I guess, yeah, only a quarterback could do it, but even of quarterbacks, like how many quarterbacks would do it?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Like before, like quarterbacks are just like, I'll play.
yeah.
Mhm.
I
You
mean,
know?
Aaron Rodgers, they could have drafted him weapons. They draft his replacement and their all-star running backs replacement or backup. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, that sucks. But like, you wouldn't imagine him like demanding a trade over something like that. I guess you know what I guess what I'm trying to say. It's kind of unprecedented.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
I think,
I,
more power to the players is always good, but I can definitely see if it started to trend that way, it could be really unhealthy for the NFL, just in the sense that everyone wants to leave, like the Texans, for example. It's going to be hard for the Texans to be relevant at all for a long time, because pretty much the only way they'll be able to get good players if they have that tarnished of a reputation. Where obviously it's like, okay, you obviously, if you have that, you kind of deserve it and you're doing a lot of things wrong. But they would have to draft players and hope that those players are good enough to compete with the rest of the NFL, or else they'll consistently have losing seasons. Where it's like, of course we want to prevent that as much as we can, but at the same time, it's kind of sport. I can just see when everyone wants to jump ship, it kind of screws that team and its fan base over for an extended amount of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely does. And like, I wonder if other teams are kind of like, well, what exactly is going to like set Deshaun Watson off if he's our quarterback? Like, he's this mad about some moves they made, which sure, I think most of the league looks at the trading of DeAndre Hopkins like, yeah, that was dumb. And they didn't involve him in the hiring of a GM. I think most teams would say we don't need to include our quarterback in our hiring. Like, that's a courtesy. That's nice to do, but like that's not a requirement for any player to be a part of that, even your quarterback. So I wonder if it does start a new thing where especially quarterbacks are like, I mean, what I'm saying is, are other teams like, if we draft someone wrong, is Deshaun going to be pissed? If we
Mm-hmm.
trade someone away, is he going to be mad? Or are other quarterbacks going to start throwing a fit more often over, decisions that aren't their decisions? And I don't know. I think I could see that being negative for sure. Kind of like you talk about, Thomas, if players are demanding trades all the time. Like, I guess my mind's going like, where would this leave us? Like, teams
Yeah.
like, are we making super teams in the NFL eventually because players are like demanding a trade to this team and everyone's like grouping up like the NBA? Like, I don't want that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely not. And I think cap
Well,
space helps with that. But
cap space helps, but also like it's it's harder. Like the NBA has a different culture, whereas like most people follow players anyway, and the teams don't matter as much in the NFL. And also, like, you could have 3 point guards in the NBA and they just play a different position and it doesn't change that much at all. Whereas there's only 32 spots in the NFL for a starting quarterback. And like a destination where Deshaun Watson would want to go are kind of limited because most places that are successful already have a franchise quarterback and don't want him anyway.
mhm.
And so it makes it like he's in a position where it's kind of a rare thing where like Miami has everything but the quarterback and Denver has a lot of things besides the quarterback. But that doesn't happen too often where you can definitely see like we're a franchise quarterback away from being great and it always being desirable because well at the same time that's all great and all, but Miami has a history of being bad. The Jets have a history of being bad. The Bears have a history of being bad. So, like and mismanaging everything. So it's not like Deshaun Watson has a ton of choices in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's true to a point because those teams we've talked about are like, at least maybe to us, the ones that stand out. But if you think a little further, like, how many teams wouldn't take Deshaun Watson? I mean, you're Cowboys. Do you want Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott?
Well, I would want Deshaun Watson, but
Yeah.
like, but still, like Jerry Jones and wouldn't do it though.
Yeah.
You don't think he would even consider it if it was a possibility to go get? He's clearly not married to Dak Prescott.
He'd think about it, but I know, but I don't know. That's just a weird situation.
I guess what I'm saying is, unless your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, yeah, actually Patrick Mahomes and list, I think every team's at least considering it. And now, obviously, if your quarterback's Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and a few others, you're probably not considering it for long. But I think almost every other team's like, we're maybe better if we have him.
Well, I mean, both parties have to be okay with it too. Let's say Minnesota. Minnesota would definitely get rid of Kirk Cousins.
Oh, but heartbeat.
But Houston's not taking Kirk Cousins' contract.
Yeah.
For Deshaun Watson, so it's like cool that you want to go to Vikings, but you have that no trade clause, and the Vikings don't want you, so we're not making that trade.
Dude, the Eagles are going to try and deal Carson Wentz for Deshaun Watson. Dude.
That's like
if Bill O'Brien was there, he would take it too.
Yeah, seriously. Dude, that reminds me of the SpongeBob episode where Mr. Krabs is selling Patrick like a hat or something. He's like, that'll be $5. I guess it's not the exact same thing, but he's just like, that'll be X amount of money. He's like, I've only got I've only got Carson Wentz. Like, no deal. Okay, dude. That was a terrible.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
You tried your best on that one.
Yeah, it's all right.
I think edit that out.
If any of our viewers have watched SpongeBob, they know what you were trying to say. If they haven't watched SpongeBob, then whatever.